Hi everyone and welcome to a Dash of .NET series. And in this series, this is our very first podcast. If you're watching this series, you know that we have been doing it every alternate week. But the amount of requests we have received from the speakers, I think we have to do it about 2 weeks every week. Having said that, I'm really excited for this podcast because if you are someone whose first love is C# programming language, if not first, then if you've ever have a crush on C# programming language and you want to move into the cloud ecosystem, then Azure kind of remains your very first choice. And I have got a really nice book that was delivered to me by Linda and the authors Anuraj. I've gone through this book, and today I'm really excited to bring one of the authors of this book, Anuraj. He is a Microsoft MVP. He's a rock star. You should check his LinkedIn and all and get connected with him. You can find all his details in the video description. So without any further ado, let's bring our author of this book and our guest, Anuraj. Hi, Anuraj, and welcome to this podcast.
Hi, Simon. Thank you.
So
Thank you for
thanks,
inviting me.
Anuraj, for joining us today. And I know writing a book is not at all easy, right? I see. Let me look
Yeah,
at how many number of pages you have. It is about almost 500, right?
yeah,
I have never written something like this. So let me ask you. I know you're a Microsoft MVP, which means you are very active in the developers community. You like to contribute back. So let's start with how you got into this all community giving back and what actually inspired you to write this really amazing book.
Okay, so let me tell you my career.
Mm-hmm.
My career journey, I started in 2004 January. So
Mm-hmm.
almost 20 years I completed. Um, and
Wow. I was
so
born around that time.
So I started as a VB developer, VB6
Mm-hmm.
developer, VB6 ASP. Then I moved to .NET. At that time, like around 2006-7,
Mm-hmm.
I worked in a company where we got a SharePoint project. It was SharePoint 3. So Microsoft introduced SharePoint, and the team was everyone was ASP.NET developers. So we don't have a clue what is happening. So we did lot of experiments with SharePoint, and when we were searching, we couldn't find any tutorials or anything. So
Yeah.
that's when I started blogging. Uh, Through blogging, I come to know about a Microsoft community in my native
Mm-hmm.
region. So I went to one or two meetings. I asked some questions. Then their organizers noticed me, and then they asked me to join, volunteer for other like events. So I started volunteering. Basically, why I contribute to community, because I learn from community. So I wanted to give it back. That is the
Yeah.
main motivation for me to contribute to the community.
No, that's very nice of you. Giving back. You usually it happens just the way you said. You try and find something on the internet. You're stuck in a project, you cannot find it, and then you get so frustrated, and you realize that I'm not the only person who's having this issue. So you take a
Yeah,
next step. You start writing blogs, or maybe put it on internet, or maybe start helping with your colleagues in your other meetings. So yeah, I think this is a story that we all share, and I'm really happy to hear it from you. Having said that, Anuraj, this book, A Developer's Guide to .NET in Azure, right? Now, this may look like a beginner's book, but to be honest, at some point, it is a very pro level, right?
yeah,
When you say you have
yes.
been working in the industry for 20 years, right? I can read from this book that there's a lot that you have put in. So let me ask you, what made you write this book? I mean, you could have written a book on C Sharp, which is involving at very fast pace than ever before, right? Why did you choose to write C#.NET book along with Azure?
Yeah, so again, the same when we are interacting with the new talent, new
Mm-hmm.
freshers, when we in our project, everything is in Azure. So
Okay.
uh, like when we talk or when we are okay, how do you know how Azure works, or how we are hosting. Uh, they know about virtual machines,
Yeah,
but
that's all cloud is for
yeah.
most of people.
So I thought, okay, let's because if you look into Azure, we got n number of services.
Hmm.
It's like today, if you say, okay, today I got 200 services in Azure portal, and tomorrow you'll get 250.
Yeah,
And that is the kind of pace technology is improving, and cloud and Microsoft is working on. So on that aspect, if you look into, uh, people are very like uh, uh, since technology is moving very fast, people
hmm,
need to like learn new things very fast. So
yeah,
but still in college and all, we are talking about virtual machines probably.
yeah.
That's why. uh, when packet team approached me for a writing a book, so I thought,
Hmm.
okay, let's do it in .NET and Azure.
Yeah, that's good. And I think it goes very hand in right, right? If you are a C Sharp or .NET developer and you use Visual Studio or maybe even VS Code now, they have a lot of, you get packages, and out of the box, you can easily deploy your resources to Azure. You can even monitor it. So if you are a C Sharp .NET developer, it becomes relatively very easy for you. And also what I've
Yeah.
noticed is that if you are on a .NET version, let's say the latest .NET version, the Azure will support it. Whereas if you look at the other cloud computing platform, they're always a couple of versions behind. It's not like they are
Yes.
bad. It's just that if you are a C Sharp or .NET developer, working on Azure gives you an edge than any other cloud computing
Yeah.
platform. So yeah, I'm with
Yeah.
you. So that really helps. Having said that, Anuraj, this book, as I said, is definitely start for beginners, then it goes to a very expert level. But if I had to ask you, what is the target audience of this book, right? What would you say then?
Yeah, again, we are like mainly we focus writing. Our target audience will be developers and architects,
Hmm. Okay,
because
architects.
because we are covering from, okay, for example, we are introducing Docker, then we are also introducing Azure Kubernetes Service.
Yeah.
So, and database, we are introducing how to create database. Also, we are explaining how to protect a database with private endpoints. Azure
Okay.
SQL is with a private endpoint. So we are
Hmm.
covering like all the areas where a beginner can start. Also, we are introducing Azure Portal.
Hmm. Oh
How
yeah,
to
I did see that page. Yeah.
so how to create resources, everything. We are also explaining, okay, how to deploy using ARM templates, all those things.
Yeah. I
Uh,
personally love ARM templates. Yeah.
and we are explaining how you can configure CI/CD, how you can configure CI/CD from your application to Azure App Service, Container Service, AKS, everything.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
there's a lot in this book. Yeah, I've seen
yeah,
it. You talk about serverless, then Kubernetes,
yeah,
Docker, whatnot. There's a really lot going on. That's why I said it's easy to get started, but it is not a book that you'll just go and sit back and read it. No, you'll have to practice it. It will take time.
yes,
It is not something you can do in just about a month or two. You'll have to practice. You'll face some challenges, and then only you'll be able. This book will be useful to you. Having said that, Anuraj. The title of the book definitely is a developer's guide to .NET in Azure, but there's a tagline, or I should say the subtitle, it says build quick scalable cloud native applications and microservices, right? So how do you justify this? What someone reading this for the very first time should be able to make out of it?
yeah. So why cloud native? Because
Hmm.
we are talking about Dapper,
Okay.
containers, uh, Azure Kubernetes Service, serverless. So
Hmm.
for a developer who is wanted to learn cloud native kind of development, this is a definite a starting point where he
Yeah.
can learn about how he can like create containers, how he can deploy web apps with Azure Container Service, App
Hmm.
Service, Azure, how to do with Azure Kubernetes Service. Also, uh, like Dapper is a component from like dapper.io. So
Yeah.
it helps you to build distributed applications very easily. So
Yeah.
all those things we are covering in that. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I see it. I see. Yeah, everything. Whenever you start to explain, right? I mean, if you go through this book, there's a beginning. There's a beginner's guide for every topic, and then it gives you a small project, and then you move on to start explaining it in depth. So it's really nice. So the way I was reading this book is I liked more of the serverless part. So I did read the first chapter, and then I was like, you know what? I am right now more interested to learn about the serverless because that is what Azure Functions, my company, or the project that I'm currently working on. So I skipped to that part. So that is what I really like about this book, that you don't have to actually even go through one after the other. If there's something that you really
yeah,
want to learn at this instance, right? Let's say tomorrow, it's like my boss can be like, hey, Simon, why don't you go ahead and learn something around Docker with .NET? I can just go ahead and take a look at that chapter and it will give me a heads up. So this is how I am reading
yeah,
this book, and I like
yeah.
it.
Yeah, certain chapter there may be a dependency. Like
Yeah.
for example, some place we are saying, okay, this is the way we are deploying app services.
Okay.
We already deployed like Docker containers in
Okay.
uh, say in the Docker chapter. We already did the continuous integration in the how to configure CI/CD on Docker containers on chapter 2. Then probably
Mm-hmm.
in chapter 4 we will be discussing app service. So there we may be referring, okay, this is the way we can configure uh, CI/CD for app services. We already learned this one in
Mm-hmm.
how to do this in
in
containers.
in previous
So
chapters. Yeah,
yeah,
that makes sense. Thanks for
yeah.
pointing that out. I was just being a little impatient to
Yeah,
look at the
but
chapter that I like it.
you we are actually thanks to Packet, they are actually giving a reference. So
Yeah,
you can just go to that this particular chapter, this page. You'll be able to see. Okay, go there and you will be able to see.
yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Having said that, Anuraj, is there any real world case projects that you have made covered in this book? I know you have definitely taught step by step, but is there any project someone will end up making after a chapter, maybe a certain chapters?
No, actually, we initially thought to write like that,
Mm-hmm.
but what happened? If we do like that, we may not be able to cover all the things on that. For example, if I say I am building a web application,
Okay.
uh, otherwise I had to say, okay, this is the way I can deploy a web application, um like app containers. This is the
Mm-hmm.
way we can deploy the same application app service. So
Yeah.
instead of avoiding that kind of thing, we are creating independent projects. So for
All right.
each chapter, there is a associated project. It's uh, since it's targeting most of the like first developer beginners,
Yeah.
it is not a very big projects. It's very
Yeah.
small projects, small
Yeah,
kind
it's
of project.
good, right? That if you start something and then you complete
Yeah,
it instead of you going through an entire book and completing
yeah,
only one project, and you don't get it through, then you feel very sad about it.
yeah,
Oh, I couldn't complete it. But if you break it down, right, one chapter, a small project, right, that you can
yeah.
complete, and then you feel good about it. So I think that is also one nice way to read a book and finish it. Uh, and Anuraj, I know we are already 15 minutes in, and we only have about 10 or odd minutes left. Let me ask you this. For an inspiring .NET developers who are interested in in exploring cloud native development, what will be some of your 2 to 3 tips that you will give from this book? that this is something that you really need to learn if I want to be a cloud native developer, right? What are some of the two, three
Yeah.
tips that you'll give from this book?
Learn, first of all, I will say that 12 factor, there is a website 12 factor. So it
Mm-hmm.
is a like very base book for cloud native.
Okay.
12 factor app.net, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you the exact link. I don't
So
remember now.
I'll put it somewhere.
So it's in the book. So that is the your first. In that we will learn. Okay, for a cloud native application, what all things you need to focus. For example, if one of the example is okay, you should be monitoring your application. That is a mandatory thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or your configuration should be in a centralized location. So all
Yeah.
those things, for example, in Azure, you can put it in like Azure app configuration. There is a service for that, and your seeker should not be part of your code. It should be again into a centralized location, Azure keyword. So
Okay.
12-factor app, that is the very base thing for cloud native. And then Dapper, all those
Mm-hmm.
things you need to learn these frameworks. It is nothing. It is not tied to Microsoft or .NET or Azure, but it is you can get bindings of .NET or SQL Server or Cosmos DB, everything
Mm-hmm.
in this.
Okay.
Uh, then learn foundations, and
Yeah, that's always
now
important.
yeah, that is a very mandatory thing. If
Yeah.
you are not strong in your foundations, you can't learn anything.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Foundation is always important, which we always tend to skip. And that is what people get asked in the interviews. Okay, so I'll ask you one final question, or maybe this is my second final question, Anuraj. Is now definitely we have this book, right? I encourage everyone to go ahead and get a copy of this book. We'll put a link in the description so that you can also find it from there. Anuraj, apart from this book, is there any supporting material that we get from this book? For instance, a GitHub repository, or maybe some of your blogs, or anything like that that one gets through this book.
Yeah, our all the source code is available on GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I can give you the link.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can check out my blog. It's anuraj.dev/blog.
Okay.
Then occasionally I will post on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
as Simon mentioned. Follow me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so that's good. That's good. I always feel good to have a GitHub repo where I can just go ahead and pick up the latest
Yeah,
PR for the updates for every chapter and that you have been building. So that really helps me just to compare on what I did wrong and what
yeah.
what was right to be done. So I think that is very good to have if you're keeping with this book. Apart from your blogs and LinkedIn, I'll put your details down in the description box. Having said that, Anuraj, I think we're almost in. It's almost like 19 minutes. Otherwise, people
Yeah.
won't show up on the entire podcast. What is your final thing you want to add before we wrap up this podcast?
Like, thank you for Simon and Linda for arranging it.
Hmm.
And again, thank you for Simon for inviting me to this podcast. And do buy our book.
Yeah, to do it. Yeah, yeah. This is the book.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Anuraj.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. I know the effort and time that you have put in this book is a lot more that you actually expect to get it back, right? So we know that
Yeah.
your commitment to the community is way beyond than what you get back from this book. So thank you so much. Thanks to everyone. Thanks
Thank
to
you.
Pack. Thanks to Linda, and
Thank
thanks to
you.
all people who have watched. And grab a copy of this book from the link below, and we will see you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.